Welcome to Candid Catholic Convos, a program brought to you by the Catholic Diocese of Harrisburg. Our mission is to humanize the Church and help you to grow in your faith, love, and understanding. I'm your host, Rachel Trochet, a cradle Catholic who's only human and struggled with faith on more than one occasion. Each week, you'll hear engaging, down-to-earth interviews and actionable strategies you can implement into your life with ease to help you grow closer to God. If you're ready to open your heart and step fully into the person God created you to be, then you're in the right place. Let's get started.
And a very, very Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Michael Parks from WHP 580 and iHeartRadio, and it's a pleasure to have our annual sit-down and conversation with the Bishop of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Harrisburg, Bishop Timothy Sr. Bishop Sr., good to see you.
Good morning, Michael. It's wonderful to be with you, and Merry Christmas to you and to everyone who's listening with us this morning.
It's, we were talking about this before we started the show, how the time is flying. Here we are at the 21st, and we were reminiscing about how it was like, wow, it's here already. And when we were kids, how different that was. We kept on, like you were saying, counting the days off the calendar.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it comes very quickly. I think the busier we are, the more quickly it comes.
Yeah, it really is. And now that it's here, I wish that, once again, we could relive and have that excitement and magic of being a child. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Maybe we could just, because that's what we're trying to do today. It's, our conversation is about the season, about, most importantly, the birth of Christ. But we're going to cover a lot of things and provide you with some inspiration and conversation for you this morning. Now, Bishop Senior, this is, maybe a couple times that I've been with you already, but you're still the new kid on the block. It's still kind of, the job is new to you and you're still out there. How has it been going recently since we last spoke at Easter?
It continues to be wonderful, really. It's a great opportunity in ministry, as a bishop, to come to such a great diocese and to have the opportunity to interact with such fine priests and deacons and consecrated religious and also many lay faithful. It's been great, and I've enjoyed getting to know the diocese, and I've appreciated, at least in the last 6 months too, beginning to get a greater focus to where we're going for the future of the diocese, to be able to strengthen the mission of the Church here in South Central Pennsylvania. Yeah,
it's we refer to you as the shepherd of the Church, and it's a huge diocese that encompasses quite a bit of area and also a number of churches. But as the bishop, it's not just a figurehead position, but there's so many things that you have to do as bishop, and one of the things that you have is what you refer to as a strategic visioning process. And how's that going?
Well, we're working in collaboration with an organization actually based out of Philadelphia, founded, almost 30 years ago, called Catholic Leadership Institute. Catholic Leadership Institute, or CLI, works with dioceses all over the country and some outside the country in developing essentially the key elements of a plan, particularly new bishops coming into a diocese. And there are benefactors who very generously support CLI in this work to ensure that bishops like myself coming into a new diocese, a new assignment, can have a smooth transition and a clear focus for their ministry going forward. And they provide that to us, that consultation and various instruments that they've developed over the course of the last 30 years in order to get feedback and input from the faithful, from priests, from diocesan staff, as to what the direction of the diocese should be. Again, to help the bishop get a good sense of the actual sort of lay of the land in the diocese. So this started for us in August of this year. And it's expected to conclude actually by May of 2025. And in terms of a strategic vision for the Diocese of Harrisburg, we began the process, first of all, with CLI, with a couple of different, as I mentioned, survey instruments. The one that's probably most familiar to Catholics is the Disciple Maker Index, the DMI. It's a survey instrument that has been, again, developed and modified over the input of scores of dioceses that CLI has worked with throughout the country. It gives the people of God an opportunity to complete an online survey, or they can also do it in hard copy, about their experience of their faith and their parish, what's going well, Are they being formed as disciples of Jesus? Is their parish life and parish community helping them in their faith in that way? And also gives the people the opportunity to talk about what's going well and what could be improved. We had about 18,000 people in the diocese complete the DMI beginning in October and concluding on the weekend just before Thanksgiving. Right now, we're waiting for all that data to be collated by Catholic Leadership Institute, and they'll be providing that to me both for a diocesan level, like what are the trends across the whole diocese, what's going well, where do we need to focus our energy to improve, and then also by parish. And it's great because they do so much work throughout the country. We can compare dioceses of similar size and parishes, rural parishes, small parishes in rural areas, large parishes in more urban or bigger areas all over the country to see where Harrisburg fits in. So I'm just very, very grateful to so many people and our priests, of course. The other component of this so far has been a survey of all diocesan staff about their experience. We had a very high participation rate, about 70% of the people who work in the diocese here in the Central Pastoral Center and in other posts throughout the diocese complete that survey about their experience. And then also priests were invited to talk about their relationship and their experience of the Pastoral Center and all the offices that comprise the Diocese of Harrisburg. So that data is also being compiled and has been shared with me and my senior staff to give us greater focus. With regard to the Disciple Maker Index, what's going to happen early in the new year in 2025 is I've appointed a committee, an envisioning team representing the entire diocese. It's 12 people, different demographics, diverse groups, cultural backgrounds, as well as locations in the diocese, some clergy, consecrated religious, to take the Diocesan Disciple Maker Index data, the responses of the faithful, and distill them down to a number of priorities for me and my leadership team in the diocese to begin to focus. That's going to be happening over the course of the first several months of 2025. So I'm excited about this because, the early data that I've given, the reports, they give you a kind of in real time, some reports are very positive about the experience of people who work here, experience of our priests. But there's always opportunities to improve and to enhance what we're doing. So I want our offices to always strive for excellence and because is there anything more precious than the proclamation of the gospel and developing people's faith and forming missionary disciples to really have a vibrant church. So taking the data and the feedback, praying to the Holy Spirit that we use these tools, and I'm confident that it will bear fruit. There's one other element of this that I think is really important too, is that our priests and deacons get the opportunity, this will begin in Lent of 2025, to take a look at themselves and their own life and ministry. What are their strengths? Where would they like to grow? That initiative for the priest leadership inventory and deacon leadership inventory is something that obviously is deeply personal to them, but just for the people of God to know that our priests and deacons are being invited to kind of think about what they want to do in terms of their ongoing formation, their continuing education, their growth in their ministry. So we're very blessed. Again, Catholic Leadership Institute provides these tools to us and all the data and analysis for free.
Wow.
And it's a tremendous gift to us. I'm so grateful to CLI and to the benefactors from all over the country who have helped to make this possible for our diocese.
It's really refreshing. I can hear it in your voice how excited you are. You're a younger man, but not an old, not that young, but you're adapting and adopting the procedures as we enter a new century and a new millennium, and it's 2025, and so much work is being done with research. And I kind of equate it to kind of like when you go to your doctor. If you don't tell your doctor what's wrong, how does he know how to fix it? And it's kind of like that for us as parishioners when we go to church, or we have problems and we're saying, we just have always gone through the motions, and nothing has changed. But if the priests, deacons, bishops, and the staff don't know what's wrong or what's going right or what they're doing well, then they don't know. So this is really interesting and exciting, and we'll be interested to see how that all pans out.
Oh yeah, thank you, Michael. It's yes. I just ask the listeners to please say a prayer, say a Hail Mary for this whole process.
Right.
The initiative has an overall name, Called for More. It's based on the idea that we as a church, we can't be exactly as you're saying, complacent or kind of set in our ways, but we have to always be, and certainly the reality of the culture around us challenges us to be ever more effective in proclaiming the gospel.
Yeah, and I don't know how your predecessors did this. They just kind of based upon the faith of God and I thought that they were doing the right thing and helping out people, and it's worked. But it's really interesting. Hey, one of the things, speaking about this and how you're helping the priests and the deacons, I know that you're very passionate about vocations to the priesthood. If you can talk about how that's going, the health of vocations in the diocese.
Well, first of all, we have 10 seminarians right now. That's spread over quite a few years of formation. If you come into the seminary right now out of high school, it's a 9-year process. We don't rush into ordination. And if you've graduated from college, it's a minimum of 7 years. So we work with 2 great seminaries, St. Charles Borromeo Seminary in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia and Mount St. Mary's in Emmitsburg, Maryland. Both seminaries are 2 of the finest in the country. And we're blessed with that. So we had a great vocation director, Father Josh Weaver, who's just really hit the ground running. And we have a lot of young people, wonderful, young people, young men and women who I believe are serious about their faith and growing in their faith. And that's a positive thing. So we've got a fertile field for vocations here in the Diocese of Harrisburg. What are we going to do? We're working with a national organization called Vocations Ministry. Again, have had great success with other dioceses. And it's based on the belief that the work of promoting vocations is not just the bishop's job or the director of vocations. Again, Father Weaver is doing a wonderful job, Father Josh Weaver. But it's everybody's responsibility, in a sense, to be able to first pastors and parishes. Mm-hmm. Surveys have shown that the ministry of a pastor in the life, for example, of a young man who is discerning a vocation to the priesthood, it's the most important person that can be that instrument with him. So the relationship with the parish and with his pastor and priests in his life, it could also be the priest in his campus ministry or the priest that he knows from high school, his high school chaplain. But even beyond the priests, it's the work of the lay faithful. And so the design of vocation ministries is that parishes in our diocese would form vocation ministry teams to, in a very intentional way, promote vocations in their parishes. Back in November, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, vocation ministries came to the Diocese of Harrisburg, and we had 60 parishes out of our 89 send representatives to be trained to be vocation ministry teams and to help build that in each diocese. It creates a network of folks that are out looking, hey, who's this young man over here, this young man that I know, or this young woman who seems to be particularly devout or interested in her faith. Might they have a vocation? And how can I, as a parishioner, say, hey, did you ever think about becoming a priest? And identifying people who we could then put in touch with the vocations office to help them and accompany them to discern. We have a lot of programs to offer to young men and women in that discernment process. We just got to get in touch with them and find out who they are. So again, it's been tremendously successful in other dioceses. The team from Vocation Ministry came to our priest convocation, which we have in October. And, the leadership from them said, you're ready because you've got such great priests who are interested in doing this, and they have a very positive attitude about their priestly ministry. That's so important. I used to say, happy priests make happy seminarians. The joy of the priesthood shared with a young man really helps him to stir that possibility in his heart. And the same thing is true for young women in discernment of a consecrated life. When you see joyful women living the consecrated life, with great energy and enthusiasm. I think you know it when you see it. A young woman is really drawn to that with a focus on a religious charism. So I think there's lots of young people, and we know this as well from just talking to them. We just have to be there to support them, but it's everybody's responsibility, not just mine or my wonderful vocation director.
Well, I'm not sure if you can really answer this or know this. For people out there listening, and they may be considering it. I mean, we talk about the calling, to be that. Who do you think would make, a good priest or woman join the consecrated life? Is there something out there that you could describe to us? Like what who are out there that should consider this?
Well, the most important thing is a consciousness of something that hopefully we all have, which is our relationship with Jesus Christ. That I used to tell our seminarians in my 11 years working at St. Charles, that before you can be a priest, you have to be a disciple. You have to develop that friendship with Jesus. And it's within that context that we use the churchy word discern and try to discover what God is calling us to. You also need to realize that God does indeed have a mission, a purpose for each one of our lives, that he has made us just as we are, with certain talents and abilities, and to serve him and to discover what that mission is, what God's will in my life is the most important thing you're ever going to do. So the combination of realizing that God has a mission and a purpose in my life, together with the friendship with Jesus, they're the two qualities. And when you have a young person who is truly has that openness, and is really working on their relationship with Christ and has already begun to discover that God is working in his or her life, we need to be able to tap into that and encourage it. And hopefully then they will also encourage others. That's important, and to have that desire to serve. That's really important too. A priest, you don't become a priest for yourself. I mean, you do to a certain extent because you realize it's God's will, but you're really becoming a person for others. And, that's true for being a bishop too. It's not a reward. It's an opportunity to deepen my relationship with Jesus Christ, to share in his death and resurrection in a uniquely personal way. It's about service, that priests are called to be leaders. They're called to be servant leaders after the heart of Christ. So you have to have that relationship with Jesus, a realization that God is working in your life and has a plan. And you really that plan is almost always, no matter what your vocation is going to be about service and giving your lives to God for others.
I remember speaking with you around Easter time when we do these conversations, that campus ministry was also an area that you plan to focus on. And that's very, very important.
We have 12 campus ministry programs in the Diocese of Harrisburg. Some of them have, a few of them have full-time staff. Some of them do. Others, lay staff, as well as priests, chaplains. They all have a priest that interacts with them in varying degrees. I view all of the young people in all of these colleges and universities as an opportunity for us that God sends us. They come, many of them are from the diocese, but a lot of them come from other parts of the country to some of our big schools and some of the smaller ones as well. And God sends them to us. They're here for a time and really important years of their life. Some of the statistics say it's really kind of staggering, very disturbing. But there's one statistic that the Pew Research Forum has discovered that 79% of former Catholics leave the church before the age of 23.
Wow.
79% of former Catholics leave the church. They make that decision. So that means that a lot of them are making that decision when they're in college. It's so important for us to be there for them, to help them to discover the gift of the Catholic faith, the relationship with Jesus, the treasure of the sacraments. And it's a missed opportunity if we don't. So it requires an investment of resources. And there's a lot of different ways to approach this. And, Chris, our diocesan annual campaign supports them, and there's ministries. But there is one particular ministry that has been introduced in the diocese that I'm very excited about, and that is Focus missionaries who have come to the diocese at Shippensburg universities. Focus stands for Fellowship of Catholic University Students. It's an initiative for campus ministry that began out of Denver back in the 90s. And Curtis Martin has developed this, and he's, again, a nationally known individual, deeply committed Catholic and leader in evangelization in our country. And Focus sends missionaries who volunteer, like volunteers that would come in for the Peace Corps or whatever, for 2 years, and they're trained as missionaries to work on campus and college campuses. So we brought 4 Focus missionaries to Shippensburg this year. And I'm extremely grateful to a group of Catholics who came together to do a fundraiser back in October to support campus ministry in our diocese. It was very successful. For those folks that participated in that, I can't thank them enough. But I'm hoping that this introduction of Focus missionaries in our diocese will be able to be something that's replicated at our other schools, usually at larger universities. And we've got them: Shippensburg, Millersville, Bloomsburg, Bucknell. I can go on.
Good.
And it's
That's
just
good to hear.
It's a great opportunity. And I got really dedicated young priests and great lay staff in our campus ministry programs. I just want to help them to strengthen that ministry. And it's great to know that there's lots of lay faithful that share that mission and goal for our diocese too.
Bishop, the last time we spoke, you were preparing for the National Eucharistic Congress and also the week-long Eucharistic event, which is held here in the diocese. So how did those go?
Oh, wow. It was wonderful. Here on a diocesan level, the national pilgrimage, there were several of these 4 routes in the United States that came from different directions. So the one from the Northeast, it was called the Seton route, came through our diocese in the southern part of the diocese in Hanover, en route to Indianapolis for the National Eucharistic Congress. And it began up in New England and came through our diocese. So we had a wonderful Eucharistic procession and some events in the southern part of the diocese down in Adams County in June in preparation for this. We also had another pilgrimage, another Eucharistic procession up in Danville at the Basilica of St. Cyril and Methodius, which is a beautiful thing. God provided amazing weather for us. It was really a wonderful time. And we concluded this with a procession, a mass on the steps of the state capitol on a beautiful Saturday morning in June. Again, the Blessed Mother really smiled down upon us, and it was amazing. And had a Eucharistic procession around the state capitol. And I thought that was very symbolic. When you think about the great gift that we have in our democracy in the United States, our system of government, and with all of its faults and challenges and difficulties that we focus on so often, but the freedom that we enjoy. And at the heart of that is religious freedom and the importance of faith at the basis of as an important and integral part of our democracy, that a sense of accountability to God, that our rights with which we are endowed are given to us by our Creator. I worry about the impact of secularization in our country and the loss of faith in God and its impact on our democracy. So in any case, here we are, beautiful June morning, celebrating the Eucharist on the steps of our beautiful state capitol, looking out over State Street toward the Susquehanna River, and then a Eucharistic procession. And then together, I, with about 100 individuals from the diocese and several of our priests, went to Indianapolis for the National Eucharistic Congress. And that was, together with over 50,000 Catholics from all over the country, an amazing experience. It was very, very beautiful, very inspiring to see such people of faith, such devotion, the wonderful cultural diversity of our country, and so many young people, deeply believing in the presence of the Lord Jesus and on fire with their faith. So I think it was a great experience.
Yeah, it does sound like so inspirational. And how could you not attend an event like that and be changed, or else have improved, and have a wish and feeling good about yourself, and an internal thing as well. I guess that kind of prepared us for 2025 is what we refer to as the Jubilee year. Explain to us, a lot of, we may have people listening who are not Catholics, or a lot of Catholics may not be familiar with the term. Explain what the Jubilee year is and why it's significant.
Well, the Jubilee year is designated every 25 years. So 2025 is a Jubilee year in the history of the Church. It's a year that's set aside to encourage the faithful to embark on pilgrimages, to repent of their sins and to forgive the sins of others, and to renew a focus on the spiritual life. So in the Hebrew tradition, our Jewish ancestry, as recorded in the book of Leviticus, a Jubilee year was celebrated every 50 years with the freeing of slaves, the forgiveness of debts. In 1300, Pope Boniface VIII instituted the first Christian Jubilee. And since then, the Church has designated each new Jubilee year, every 25 years, as a year of grace and forgiveness. So the theme of 2025 Jubilee year is Pilgrims of Hope. So when Pope Francis announced this Jubilee year, he chose that theme, focusing on the fact that we as Christians are always people of hope, but that the world needs that. We're pilgrims on a journey, and that journey is undertaken in faith and with hope. So the Pope said this: we must fan the flame of hope that has been given us and help everyone to gain new strength and certainty by looking to the future with an open spirit, a trusting heart, and a far-sighted vision. The forthcoming Jubilee can contribute greatly to restoring a climate of hope and trust as a prelude to the renewal and rebirth that we so urgently desire. The Pope said that's why he chose the motto Pilgrims of Hope for the theme for the Jubilee year, recovering that sense that we're called to, as he says so beautifully and so often, a sense of universal fraternity, never to turn a blind eye to the sufferings of others, but recognizing that we, in the effort to respect human dignity that is under attack in so many ways, we as people of hope come as people of faith into this world to be a transformative presence and to reveal that hope that God desires to have in each of our hearts.
We've unfortunately run out of time, but if you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, you can listen to us anytime on Spotify under Candid Catholic Convos, or you can download this episode from our website at hbgdiocese.org. Thank you so much for listening. Our goal at the Diocese of Harrisburg is to walk with you on your faith journey. So if this episode resonated with you in any way, the easiest way to show your appreciation is by sharing this program with your network or by leaving a review on your listening platform. You can also support us financially by making a donation online at hbgdiocese.org/DAC and clicking the Make a Donation button. Thanks again, and we'll see you at church on Sunday.